Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to yet another informative session today by Kilometer 7, run by MRR. Well, with the Tata Mumbai Marathon just round the corner, I'm sure we all have those last minute questions, that anxiety that props up every now and then, and of course, which also starts before the race day, the night before it. Yeah. So, well, today we have a very well known personality. It does not require much of an introduction, but as a part of this process, I will introduce him. He is a passionate long distance runner, a coach for marathon training. He has qualified himself in MAF, which is a holistic approach towards running, worked in corporate and now trades in stock market. His significant achievement is during his third year of running, he crossed his full marathon in 4 hours 9 minutes, and in just another 2 months he did the same distance in sub 4, which is commendable. He loves to spread his knowledge about running and says this is definitely his life of choice. Let's welcome S. Natarajan sir.
Hi, thanks, Sharon, for this warm welcome. This is nice to be here, and I thank MRR and all of you who have joined here for this session, and then it's a great opportunity for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, before we start with our questions which you have planted for us, a small admin announcement that we will be taking the questions from our audience at the end of the session. You are also free to type in your questions in the chat and we will take them appropriately. So let's get started, sir. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. So now starting with our first question. Now that every one of us is tapering towards the period of the Mumbai Marathon, which is just 7 days away, is there any last minute tip that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, of course. And before we get into the first question itself, I wish everyone who is going to run Tata Mumbai Marathon the very best. And I would recommend that to follow the safety first principle as advised by Tata Mumbai Marathon organizers. In their PDF, they have given a list of questionnaires, around 12 questions or 13 questions or so. If you are getting even a single yes, then you need to be taking care of that point. With that in mind, let us get into the race process now. So, Sharon, thanks once again for this asking this wonderful question. Because we are hardly left with around 7 days and 8 nights precisely. So, tapering is a process where there are three elements involved. One is exercise, second is food, and third is rest and sleep. So while exercise and food would taper down, the rest and sleep has to taper up. We have to increase the rest and sleep component. So why taper is needed? Because normally when we go for a continuous running, at that point of time, lot of stress we have developed. So we need to remove all our stresses, the physical stress and then chemical stress, all those stresses need to be removed, and we should be getting ready for our full marathon or half marathon running. Normally, a half marathoner would go for a 2 week taper. It is not recommended to go for a 3 week taper for a half marathoner. But for a full marathoner, it depends, because the full marathoner normally can go for either 65 kilometers of a weekly mileage, or she or he can go for a 95 to 100 kilometers of a weekly mileage. If the former, which is 65 kilometers, then probably I would recommend the 2 week taper. If the later, then I would recommend 3 week taper. And how to go about this taper is also very important, though this may not be as important for a Tata Mumbai Marathon, because hardly we are left with only 1 week. But for the benefit of future races, I just want to mention that normally we have to taper down by 40% in the week 2, and further by 50% what is left out in that week 1, which means that a person who is running for 60 kilometers will end up running only 36 kilometers in week 2 and in the countdown form, and approximately 18 kilometers in week 1, which is just before the race. As far as this is concerned, that now we are going to talk about the what not to do. For example, if we are having hardly 7 days left out now, we should not be going for a fast-based tempo. Normally, there are three types of tempo we run. One is fast tempo, mid tempo, and long tempo. So here we should not be going for a fast tempo, because we are not here to increase our heart rate to the maximum extent. At the same time, whenever we are going for a speed interval, which I would recommend you should not exceed 400 meters and only 6 repetitions. What happens with 400 meters and 6 repetitions? You would be agile. At the same time, your heart rate would start going up only in the 8th repetition or 9th repetition. So when you are going for only 6 repetitions, your heart rate would not go, but you would be maintaining the agility as such. So this is where it is very, very critical that we follow these sort of steps and not to overdo the things at this point of time, because we don't want to stress our body as such. So as far as now getting into food, the food taper is very, very important, because what can happen is that you are reducing from 65 kilometers to suddenly to 36 kilometers and further to 18 kilometers, which means the food which you used to have can no more be applicable. Now we need to cut down on the food. So what is the methodology we should adopt? So just because we are reducing the running volume by 70%, we are having only 30% of running volume. That doesn't mean that we should be reducing our food intake by 70%. That is a wrong concept. Instead, what we should be doing, there is a concept called BMR, which is basal metabolism rate. The basal metabolism rate would be depending on the age of the person, the gender of the person, height and weight of the person. Based on these 4 factors, you can find it in Google. A calculator will tell you that what is your basal metabolism rate. Based on the basal metabolism rate, you even if you don't do anything, only do breathing, that much of energy is going to get consumed. But we are office goers, we are doing a lot of work within the house also. So probably we should increase that basal metabolism rate calorie level by 20%. So that is our normal living as a normal human being. Okay, so we have to let's assume for a moment that our basal metabolism rate is 1200 calories, which means that we have to increase that by 240 calories by adding 20%. So 1440 would be the normal calorie intake we should be having. But now, because you are running for, let's say, 63 kilometers in a week, why I'm saying 63? For my simplicity, for ease of calculation, which means that every one single day of the week, we would be running for 9 kilometers. Assume for a moment the person is around 60 kilogram weight. So the 60 multiplied by the distance what she is covering in one day, which is 9 kilometers, would add up to 540 calories, which is what you were consuming as a food equivalent of basal metabolism plus something more on that, and beyond that, that 540 calories. Now that 70% cut has to happen on that 540, not on the base portion. So which is what is needed. Now we have understood what is needed to be cut down. Now what is to be cut down exactly? In taper of 14 days, I'm going to explain only 2 weeks taper. In a taper of 14 days, the initial 10 days, what we call as fat loading process. Fat loading, and the last 4 days, just before the race, it is known as carb loading process. In the fat loading process, which you may not follow for Tata Mumbai Marathon, you need not follow for Tata Mumbai Marathon. Anything what you are going to follow is based on your familiarity, based on what you have done in the past. You are not going to introduce anything as of now. I am giving for the benefit of the future races. So during the initial 10 days, we are supposed to increase our fat content and significantly reduce our carb content. What is the normally you used as a food? Normally, any human being would be recommended to have 50% carb of energy should come from carb, 30% or 35% should come from fat, and 15%, 15% should come from protein. Now, in this 10 days, what experts are recommending, you should increase that 35% of fat to the level of either 50 or 60% of fat, and protein remains the same. There should be a reduction in the carbohydrate for initial 10 days. Why? Normally we have kept on hearing that we need to go for carb loading and carb loading. Why suddenly there is a change? Because even if you want to go for a carb loading, you have to wake up all those glycogen pockets. So when you wake up in this process of glycogen pockets, when you go for the last 4 days of carb loading, then you would be pumping all those carbohydrates nicely filled up into the glycogen pockets, and it will be available for you in full when you run the race. This is about carb loading and fat loading. Now, I want to give you some of the tips for the chai lovers and the coffee lovers. For the chai lovers, if you are having a practice of having morning cup of tea before you go for a run or race, if you are having a practice of having a cup of coffee when you go for a race in the morning, then it is better that you stop taking cup of coffee for these 5 days or 6 days and reintroduce on the race day morning. which means that when you deprive of the caffeine, now, and when you're reintroducing the caffeine on the race day, the caffeine would be working as a signal blocker. What it will work as? It will work as a signal blocker. And what signal it will block? In our body, there are some pain signals which gets released, which is captured by our brain. So when you have the cup of coffee in the morning or the tea in the morning on a race day, what will happen? You would be postponing the pain. The body would not understand. Otherwise, what will happen? Body will understand and ask you to slow down. So this is more like a caffeine fasting. So I've introduced three elements. One is fat loading, second is carb loading, and third is known as caffeine fasting. With that, we are going to migrate towards the third element of the tapering process, which we have to taper up, which is we have to increase further, which is rest and sleep. Now, here is the time you are going to miss your morning workouts, and here is the time you have to compensate with more and more sleep. So, at least for 2 days in these 8 nights, I would recommend that you wake up little early, as though you are waking up for the race time, and test yourself what is that morning food you would like to have during the race day. I want you to test out on these 2 days, because the further recommendations what I am going to give you now will ask for eating much more than what you normally used to be. So for that purpose, you need to at least wake up twice in these 7 days, little earlier than what you normally do. For the rest of the time, you should go for a sleep. Most of us are already very, very active in either in our business or in our office. So I would recommend that do not travel for these days. You stay in the station. You come back home much earlier. If you are not finished the work, please come back home and then do the work at home itself. And if possible, go for work from home concept, so that you would be your legs will be very, very fresh. And at the same time, you go for a walk. There is no problem in for walking. You can keep walking within the house. You can keep yourself agile, but at the same time, you should rest your legs. That is the tapering process I just want to see.
All right, sir. I think that was very informative. Moving on to our next question, sir. As we know that the race is on 15 Jan, what should be the routine that one follows a day prior, that is on 14th?
Yeah, 14th is very, very significant for any of the runner, and even more significant for the outstation runners. So we have to ensure that we have to be positive on hydration. When I say positive on hydration, meaning if normally we consume around 3 liters of fluid, and we have to have little more fluid on that particular day on 14th. When I say fluid, I'm using carefully, because everything should not be water. Half of the thing can be water, and the remaining half can be salt water or the glucose, what we normally prepare with 1% salt and 5% glucose. That sort of water we can have. So that is what I would recommend. And you have to completely rest your legs. If you are going for an expo to meet your friends, you be there in the expo and then try to sit on the floor somewhere or on the chair and then chat with your friends and then get back home and then rest completely. And very, very important, 2 critical words I'm going to say. One is familiarity, another is control. The familiarity, we all know that what I am comfortable with, which food I am comfortable with. That is familiarity. We should not be exploring too much of a different food just because we have come to Bombay. We should not be exploring too many other food. What we are accustomed, only those foods we should have. Second is control. While you know your the familiar foods, but the restaurant what you are choosing, the hotel where you are going to have food, what you are choosing should also be carefully chosen. You should know which restaurant is offering a good food, good quality food in terms of quality, I would say. So you should not have from unknown restaurant where we do not know what is going to be the quality. And avoid uncooked food. For example, if you are having the habit of cucumber, please avoid, because cucumber can produce acidity if you are going to take uncooked food manner. And avoid coconut chutney. Normally people think that idli is the safest food and they normally go for a idli. At the same time, they would like to get, they will also get accompaniments as chutney or sambar. So if it is a coconut chutney, avoid, because we do not know the aging of the coconut chutney. Similarly, if it is a sambar, do not drink it. You have to only just dab it and then have it. Do not have more and more sambar, because you do not know what is the spice, what is the ingredient which has gone into it. Stay safe, and that is what is important. And there are people who normally consume alcohol. For example, they have a periodicity of once in 15 days or once in a month. They normally go for alcohol. The advice for those people is that if you want to go for a half glass of beer or half glass of wine on the race the 14th night, it is advisable to go because that will give you a good, comfortable sleep and you can wake up very, very fresh in the morning. Do not increase the quantum, but only half glass of beer and a half glass of wine. Those who are not accustomed, please don't even try. That's about
All right.
1 day before racing. Yeah.
All right. So, sir, we runners have often heard about hitting the most infamous wall. How can one avoid hitting that wall?
Okay. Hitting the wall is depending on several factors, and then I would like to give the background why we are normally hitting the wall. When we use the energy called fat. Predominantly, we use fat as an energy, and secondly, carb as a energy. But why carb is getting much more importance? Because even to burn the fat, we need a carbohydrate. Fat cannot burn on its own. Even to burn the fat, we need carbohydrate, and carbohydrate can burn on its own. So I normally give an example of a wooden log and petrol. The wooden log is like a fat, and the petrol is like a carbohydrate. So even to burn a wooden log, we cannot just burn it with a matchstick. We need a petrol to support the wooden log to burn completely. And secondly, what happens that everyone is different in our aerobic base build, right? So we are different in our own aerobic base build, which means that whenever I am normally breathing and walking in my house, that walking will give me 100% of fat burning. There is no sugar burning whatsoever. When my the carbon dioxide to oxygen ratio, for example, I inhale oxygen and I throw out carbon dioxide. The ratio between carbon dioxide and oxygen, when it is 0.7, which means that I am going to burn 70% of fat and only 30% of sugar. That also is known as the ventilatory threshold 1, VT1, where I'm comfortably in a position to walk or speed walk or slide jog, but I am getting slowly, my breath is increasing, but not fully. So at this point of time, my sugar intake will start increasing because my energy requirement is much more. So it will be topped up by more and more sugar. So in order to maximize the fat burning, we should be doing in our non-racing period, we should be go for a slow run. Normally we maybe keep hearing that to run slow to run faster. So run slow to run faster. That is what normally we hear. So this is the point we need to maximize the fat burning. Now, I would like to explain the formula why we are hitting the wall. There is a formula we all seen in our Garmin watches. What is our VO2 max? The volume of or maximum oxygen uptake in 1 minute per kg of body weight multiplied by, I call this efficiency as a lactate threshold efficiency. There is a efficiency with which we can run. We cannot run at 100% heart rate ever, right? So that is only doing VO2 max run or speed interval we run, and that is hardly for 2 or 3 minutes. We don't run full blast always, right? So we run at a reduced pace, maybe at a lactate threshold pace we are running. That I call as a LT efficiency or lactate threshold efficiency. The multiplication of these two has to be further multiplied by the time likely I'm going to take a full marathon for finishing my full marathon or even half marathon, multiplied by my body weight. This is what is going to give me oxygen requirement in terms of milliliters. Now, if I divide that by 1,000, then I'll get in liters. If I multiply it by 5, then I'll be getting what is the total calorie needed. And now this is the demand side. This is what is put as a demand on me. Now, what is can be supplied by my body to support this run is hardly 450 grams of carbohydrate. Whatever I may eat, my body can deliver from the glycogen pocket to the extent of 450 grams. And I also have sugar in the form of, in the blood also. The blood also has a sugar that can be added to the extent of 50 grams. So totally, hardly I can deliver 500 grams of carb. Now, this all I'm saying is for the amateur runners. For the elite runners, this figure of 450 grams would be much higher to the extent of 650 grams. So, and the elite runners are who? There are hardly only 1,000 runners in the entire world. So, whom we can call as elite runners. We are not going to call everyone as elite runner, though, because somebody is running much faster. So, all are amateur runners only. So, we need to depend upon these 500 grams only. If there are only 500 grams available, which translates to only 2,000 calories in terms of supply capability. And what is demand put on me? Close to around 2,500 or so. That the difference between this demand and supply is what need to be met. And when it is not getting met through a proper race time nutrition, then we will be hitting the wall. So the point is, on 14th, on 15th early morning, whatever we are having, we are trying to replenish our glycogen pocket to the extent of 450 gram only. So whatever, if you don't eat, that 450 gram also will come down, which means my supply capability is also going to go down, which means that I am going to hit the wall even sooner. So that is the point I just want to say. For example, you are not slept very well, which means that your heart rate is going to be higher, your sugar burning will be maximum, which means that the 450 grams, whatever is supposed to supply will go down much dramatically, and we would not be in a position to run longer. We would be hitting the wall very soon. So now coming to the same equation of VO2 max, LT efficiency, can you improve in 7 days? No, you cannot improve. Can you improve the time at which you are going to run at this point of time? But based on these two parameters, no, right? So what can be improved upon is the weight. So what is more needed is the weight management is more needed, and the carb loading is more needed. And when you run the racing, the right pacing is more important. We should not be running too fast or too slow. That is what is important. These are the factors which would govern for hitting the wall. So there are only 3 factors at this point of time we can focus on is weight management, carb loading, and the right pacing during the race. Yeah.
All right. So next, another important question is that now on the day of the race, as we enter on 15 Jan, and we get up, what is it that you think runners should do?
Yeah, so just now we have seen about the hitting of the wall. So we have spoken about 14th, how we need to have food, and how 15th need to be had food. So I just want to combine the 14th late in the night, whatever time we are going to have food, let's say at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, we would be having typically pure carb food. We should not be mixing it up with the ghee. We should not be mixing it up with more and more proteins. What is should go inside my body should be carb, carb, and carb, which means that at least 10 gram of carb per kilogram of my body weight should get into my body in the previous day night. And even if I have this, when I sleep during the night, something is going to get depleted in my sugar level. From liver, it is going to go to my brain. Even during my sleep, my energy is getting consumed by my brain and my other visceral organs, and liver is supplying that, right? So liver is a global source of sugar. While running muscle is only used for sugar being stored there for the running purpose, liver is a global source for a global source, meaning that it can supply all over the body, right? So wherever it is needed, it can supply. Now, on the 15th early morning, as soon as you get up, if you are wanting to do much faster, I am not talking about the current race, you would be honoring your pace which has been given by the coach or what you have decided for yourself. But if you want to do improvement over what you are doing currently, probably it would be advisable to go and wake up 4 hours early and then start having at least 4 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight, which means that you should have this practice even during simulation runs. You should have this practice even during normal practice runs also. You cannot just start during the tapering process, right? So this is why I'm saying that for all these points, you should try to use it for next race. But what you can do it for this race is at least start having something from 3 hours to 2 hours before the race. At least 2 grams per kilogram of body weight you should have as a carb. Now, how will you know that 2 grams of kilogram is available or not? So what you should do is you should write down item by item. For example, I would like to have dates. I would like to have raisins. I would like to have, let's say, bread with the peanut butter. I would like to have apple. I would like to have oranges. I would like to have banana. I would like to have chickpea. Like that, you keep writing down the list and then look for in Google that what one fruit, what one item of that particular quantity will give me how many carbohydrates. For example, 40 raisins will give me 20 grams of carbohydrate. 1 date will give me 4 grams of carbohydrate. Like that, you start writing down and do your mathematics based on your calculation of 2 grams per kilogram of your body weight. Once that is done, once the mathematics is tallied, try it out. I told you in the past, 5 minutes before or 10 minutes before, that wake up early on at least on 2 days and try out this. So try out these foods, how the day goes for you. If you are in a position to manage this food, then you have this on the race day morning also, which would give you a very, very thumping energy. I am telling you that you would not even feel that you are running. You will be getting a feeling of flying. So this is the very, very important tip I am giving. At this point of time, during the race, your early morning nutrition is far more important than race time gel. Race time gel is important, but then what is much more important is the race early day morning. The complex carbohydrate what you are going to have is much more important. Yeah. So that is what is needed for this. So manage your food properly, then you would be much better off. That is what I want to talk about the 15th Jan or the race day morning. Wake up 4 hours before or at least 3 hours before and start having this food. That will be much better. And you need to get ready for the hydration as well. For example, 500 ml of water based on your convenience. You should keep having. Whenever I say water, please replace it with fluid, because 50% water and 50% the natural electrolyte, for example, limbu juice with lemon juice with rock salt or whatever, may also help very much. So keep having that hydration as well. And just 15 minutes before or 20 minutes before the race, you should have, if you're having the practice of gel, you should have at least one gel, and then calm your nerves by doing some yoga or taking some selfies, and then calm down your nerves like that. And release your butterflies in the colorful form so that you can start your race nicely. This is what I want to talk about the race morning. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So we have another question which says, do you suggest any race time nutrition strategy? And it would be great if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, so far what we spoke about is about the pre-race nutrition, and the gel what you are going to take 15 minutes before is also considered to be a pre-race nutrition. Now, in experts' opinion, based on the several trainees what they have trained, the experts are saying there are fundamentally 5 strategies, but 3 strategies are to be focused. The first strategy is the combination of gel and energy drink. The second strategy is purely gel. And the third strategy is going purely with energy drink. The fourth strategy is only having water. And the fifth strategy, which is not at all a strategy, is going dry. So for half marathon runners, going dry even is not advisable. If you want to go dry, it is better that you try to accustom yourself with at least some fluid, because we don't want to get into any other issue as such. And the fourth strategy, which is about having water. If you want to have water alone, at least try out this method, in the sense that if you're getting an energy drink station, take some sizable amount of energy drink, swirl in your mouth and spit it out. Even the touch of carb on your tongue will give you a good signal to your brain to run much better. So even that would be helpful. Even if you are not accustomed to energy drink, even your body is not accustomed for energy drink or gel, and even if you are solely dependent on water, what you should do is you should take a swirl of energy drink and then spit it out, so that you would not have GI gastroenteritis issue, intestinal issue, but at the same time you can manage your run. But this is all if you are not in a position to go for either energy drink or gel. And what is first and foremost preferred method for most of the people is a combination of energy drink and gel. When I'm saying most of the people, I'm talking about amateur runners. We are not even talking about elites. Elites are having their own plan. Elites will follow their own plan. They would not be attending sessions like this. So they would be following their own plan. So what sort of combination we can have? For example, you may be knowing that we already spoken that how much of a carb we should consume and all those stuff. Our body is capable of absorbing only 1 gram of carbohydrate per minute, which means that only in 60 minutes, 60 grams only can be absorbed. So it can deliver only 60 grams. We cannot increase that number. Though there are a lot of researches which are going on, the 60 gram, how it can be increased to, let's say, 72 grams. That lot of research is going on. And people are doing a lot of fundamental research also since so many years. But what is applicable to you and me is, as of now, not 60 grams, not 72 grams. Whatever we have done during our simulation runs, that only we should follow. In my simulation run, now I am not talking about Tata Mumbai Marathon, I am talking about future Tata Mumbai Marathon or any other future races. During our simulation runs, we should try out that, can I absorb at least 50 grams of carbohydrate in 1 hour? Can I use 2 gels in 1 hour? That sort of experimentation I should keep doing. The moment I am comfortable with 50 grams of carbohydrate in 1 hour, during the race, I would recommend to reduce that by 5 grams. Let's say you should go only for 45 grams. That sort of approach you should follow. So, which means that slightly lesser than 2 gel you would be consuming during the race. So this will be making you much more comfortable during the addressing the gastrointestinal issues, right? You would not face any problem. Now, between gel and energy drink, I would prefer that you take gel in the first half of the race completely. During the second half of the race, when you are a little more tired, you should start with your energy drink, which means that there are gels where you should take water along. So you consume your gel, for example, 4 gel you are comfortable with. So all those 4 gels, you mix it up with water, you make a complete solution, and you carry either all those solutions with you and keep taking sip of gel. Instead of giving one-time shock of entire gel in one go, you keep mix it up with water, nicely make a solution of 200 ml or 400 ml, whatever you can carry. If you are not in a position to carry, there are hydration points which are managed by MRR or any other organization on the race. You can keep in the strategic location, pick up your the solution, and then keep taking sips. That would give you a tremendous uniformity for your energy gel as such is concerned. During the second half of the race, you can go for energy drink, and also whatever the energy drink is being sponsored during that event, that you should be trying it out during your simulation run, and that is what you should go for, right? So then there is one scientist known as Tim Noakes. I think he's a South African. He has done a lot of research how one should take fluid. For example, water. A person should take water every 15 minutes. For example, based on the sweat rate, you have decided that I am supposed to have, let's say, per kilometer around 60 ml of fluid, and you are going to cover some 2.5 kilometers in 15 minutes, which means 60 into 2.5, approximately 150 ml you want to consume. That 150 ml you should consume in one go every 15 minutes, like that. So this is what you should do, and you should not keep taking sipping, because that is not found to be helpful. Also, taking half a liter in one go is also not helpful. What you should do, you should practice during your practice runs. Every 15 minutes only, I am going to take water, whatever is required as per my sweat rate. Yeah. So that is the time. That is the point I want to talk about race time nutrition. And there is a third strategy, which is about the entire energy drink can be consumed. For those people, the problem with the energy drink is what the amount of carbohydrate which is required in an energy drink is going to be very, very less. For example, if you are going to take 100 ml, you are going to get hardly 6 grams. And I don't know, I'm not sure what is going to be your sweat rate. Assume for a moment that your sweat rate, you are going to consume, you have decided to consume 500 ml during 1 hour of racing. 500 ml is less, but I would say 500 ml during 1 hour, which means that 500 into 6 is what you are going to get as in terms of carb, right? So hardly you are going to get 30 grams of carb, right? So 500 ml is half a liter, and you are going to get hardly 30 grams of carb, which is not going to be useful, because what we need is at least 60 grams. At least what we need is that anything lesser than 60 grams, but then as maximum as possible. 30 grams is what going to only delay the wall, but you may likely to get wall. But in future, you should go about how you should manage your with energy drink. So there are some people, in fact, I also tried myself, that whatever the company recommendation for the energy drill, I would be slightly going on positive, so that I would manage my little more carbohydrate in the form of energy drink during the second half of the race. If they recommend 6%, I would go for 8%, something like that. So this is again trial and error. How my gastrointestinal issues are supporting me is what is more important. Whatever knowledge I'm telling based on other researchers is of no use to you, because it has to be found out by you for yourself during the simulation runs. Yeah.
All right. So before we move on, we are getting a lot of questions from our Facebook users. And glad to see
Yeah.
that. Just a request that if the Facebook users could put in their names, once they post in their questions, then we would be more clear in terms of, asking the questions as well. Moving on to our next question. So we've heard you speak about the second channel of energy. Yeah. Can you please speak a little bit on that aspect?
Yeah, second channel of energy is that this is the additional support what you will be getting during the race. Normally, I use this gel. This is a very familiar gel what I used to use, because this is what I was suitable for. Normally, I use this gel. And this gel, if I look at the contents at the back, this is clearly written as maltodextrin. and water, flavor, all those points will be written over here, that maltodextrin, right? So, but there are various forms of sugar available. The one form is fructose, which is coming from the fruit source. So, there are gels available, I have seen in the market, where the maltodextrin and the fructose is also combined together available. I am not recommending that you should go for that. I would recommend that you go for this, whatever you are using currently. Look at the content. If it is written as maltodextrin only, then you go for carrying more and more dates as well as raisins. The dry grapes as well as dates you carry, and you have that also. So what will happen, that dates and raisins will have a 50-50 ratio of glucose and fructose, which means that if you have, let's say, 2 raisins, you will be getting 1 gram of carb. Out of that 1 gram of carb, 50% would be of maltodextrin variety, and 50% would be of your fructose variety. The absorption which is happening through our channel in our body, there are various names. One is sodium guided absorption channel. Second is glucose guided absorption channel, what we call as GLUT2, GLUT5, GLUT2, GLUT5. We will not get into scientific terms, but then these two channels are different for these two carbohydrate varieties, which means that you can take the benefit of using both the form of sugar while you are running the race. So the research is telling that though we are talking about 1 gram of carb per 1 minute absorption, by adding this, you can go up to 1.5 grams. That is the point I just want to give a message, which means that even if you are only on energy drink, which is hardly going to give you 30 grams of carbohydrate during 1 hour of running, if you are going to carry your dates and raisins, and if you are going to have it considerably and during the run, you will be getting additional support. So, because I told you 50-50, it also have, the dates also has glucose. So it is better that you reduce your energy drink content little bit and increase this so that you will get the maximum benefit out of this. So that is the second channel I spoke about. So do not depend on only one channel in our body. Do depend on both the channels, which the sodium supported as well as the GLUT2 and GLUT5 you would be using for your running. So you will be awesome, you will be fabulous running in your run. Yeah.
All right. We have another question which says, how do you want the runners to go about on the race day with regards to the pacing?
Oh, yeah. This is a very, very crucial point. So, the tapering, I would say, the 2 week tapering and entire racing, if I combine into one portion, the 2 weeks tapering and entire racing, if I combine into one portion, and the practice runs as another portion, I would give weightage of 60% to practice runs and 40% weightage to taper and racing, right? So only one wrong strategy during your racing can all can go wrong in that one particular wrong thing. So what your coach has defined you, what you have practiced in your practice runs, in all your 3 weekly critical runs, for example, speed interval or tempo or long run, based on some parameters, right? So you should protect that marathon pace. You should protect that half marathon pace. You should not go too fast and you should not go too slow also. There is no fun in after having practice for the run. If somebody is going to tell you that run slow, please don't agree. You go with a neutral pace right from kilometer 1. Right from your kilometer first step, you should go at the neutral pace. What is neutral pace? If you are planned to run at a 6 pace, you should go at 6, 6, 6, like that. Every kilometer you should knock off. Okay, there are people like me who would be having some sort of anxiety, who would like to run little faster and have some buffer. What I do, I'm not asking you to practice what I do. What I do is that instead of running at 6 planned pace, I would go for 5:55 pace. I would go for 5:55 pace. Like that, I will go for 4 kilometers. I will carry that 20 seconds buffer, which I would use it for rest of my runs. After that, from 5th kilometer onwards, I am not going to overshoot or underplay my pacing. I would go systematically on the same pace, whatever possible. Now, there is a point. Is the pace going to be constant throughout the run? No, it is. There are going to be ups and downs in our routes. So if there is a pedal road, if there is any inclination up which is coming, I should be knowing during my practice runs, instead of running at 6 pace, I should be climbing this portion at 6:45 pace, I should be climbing this portion at 650 pace, or a more finicky a person like me who will be looking constantly at my lactate threshold heart rate, that whether I am crossing my lactate threshold heart rate, or can I go a little slower down so that my heart rate can be brought back. Yeah. So this is what is very much important. There is no fun in going much faster and getting bonked off. That is the reason number one for the wall getting hit. If you go much faster, what is going to happen? Have you ever seen a rubber band? So when you keep stretching the rubber band, it is not going to come back its original position. After a lot of stretch, the rubber band is going to come to a position which is much larger than the original position, which means that when you are running, you are adding more and more stress. Suddenly, instead of 6 pace, defined 6 pace, you are running at, let's say, 5, 10 pace because of some anxiety, which means your heart rate has already shot up. And when you are bringing down that 5, 10 pace to 6 pace, the heart rate is not going to go down to the same level of 6 pace what you had. So there is going to be a permanent stress which is going to get created. Once you have created permanent stress, which means that more and more sugar will start taking, even if you don't wish to burn the sugar, even if you wish to burn the fat, it is not going to happen. Which means that all the glycogen pockets you would start consuming much earlier. So what is more important is adhere to your pace plan. There are coaches who would be telling you to run within 3 seconds. I'm not sure that my mentor Ashok Someshwar sir used to tell me that do not run faster than 5 seconds, do not run slower than 5 seconds. Of course, it all depends on the flat route, but if it is uphill or downhill, you need to manage, but there the effort constancy will come into play. For example, in a downhill, you can go a little faster by maintaining your heart rate. In uphill, you can go slower by maintaining your heart rate. So, and while running, you should decide what is going to be your method, what is going to be your aim for this run. If you are going to run for, let's say, some particular pace which coach has given to you, if you are going to run for only for fun, if you are going to only for fun, I am not going to make this point of talking less. If you are going to run for your timing, then please talk less or don't talk. If you want to wish your runner opposite, just give a big smile and then applaud, but do not spend much of your energy if you want to focus on timing. But if you want to focus on, let's say, fun element, then go all out and then enjoy. There is nothing for hit the wall or whatever for you. You go and enjoy your run. And again, after saying all these points, there will be a point of time where you will be feeling much, much, much tired. That point of time, the Krebs cycle will not work. For example, it will not be a one-to-one equation of ATP supplying, and again you are running, consuming ATP as it supplies. You will be overshooting. Your lactate threshold will cross, which means that you are going to get all those build-up of that lactate, and then you are going to stall. So take a pause for 2 minutes, walk very, very slowly for 2 minutes, and then restart your run. You will be doing fabulously well. You might have heard people saying that I stopped and then I restarted, because it is not because of the willpower and all. It is because of the Krebs cycle is coming back. The science is coming back in your body, and then you have listened to the body. Now the body will start functioning again to support you. So that is what the pacing strategy I just want to give. So guys, and do not waste your opportunity. You have worked a lot. You have worked for almost 6 months or even more. You have struggled a lot. You have woken up early. You have given everything what is possible for you. Please do not waste this opportunity. Nicely pace whatever coach has given or whatever you have designed for yourself. Do not give any surprises on the race day. Only one surprise may still come during the race time, is that warmth. You will be feeling suddenly lot of warmth, because a lot of people are running, you are running on the ceiling, lot of humidity. Maybe you may consider little more water consumption than what you are accustomed to. When I am saying water, it is fluid. Please always take as fluid. So a little more, slightly more than what you are accustomed to give the respect to the weather conditions that particular day, that particular moment. Yeah.
All right. We have a couple of questions too. So one gentleman has asked how much to run between today and the 13th if he's a full marathoner.
Again, as I said, that it depends that what is the mileage the person has run is very, very important. For example, I used to run around 65 kilometers. And for the simplicity of calculation, let me take my number as 60 kilometers during the peak weekly mileage. If the peak weekly mileage is 60, during this next 5 days, I should be running only 30% of that, which is 18 kilometers. Assume for a moment that your mileage was 100, most probably you would not be sitting for this session, but still 30% of the 100 is around 30 kilometers. If you are running only for 45 kilometers so far during the peak time, in the entire week, then you should be running only 14 kilometers or so.
All right.
And split into over next 3 days or whatever.
Okay. Another question is hydration stations often keep salt and jaggery too. What is your recommendation between the two?
So I would say that both are very important. You should take a pinch of both, a little more jaggery and a little less salt. For example, I think 5% sugar and 1% salt you cannot measure, but the only thing is you can take a judgment, right? So one pinch of salt and 5 pinches of jaggery you can take, and then you can run. That would both of them would do wonders. And if there is a oranges available on the route, pick up oranges as well. So those are all very good. So oranges would give you fructose. So remember that, and then that would give you a lot of additional channel. So use that as well. Yeah.
All right. Sir, somebody is asking for you to post the formula for the calorie requirement that you mentioned. So possibly you can just repeat it one more time for them.
Yeah, it has got 4 components. Okay, so let us make it very simple. You all know about 2 factors. One is VO2 max, and the second is lactate threshold efficiency. This terminology I am introducing. This is not given in the books and all. See, in VO2 max, it is the highest pace you are running, right? So in race, you are not going to run at that pace. So there is if 100 is the pace, you are going to run at, let's say, 80% of the pace during your marathon pace, right? So you should know what is your VO2 max level. For example, if your VO2 max is 40, multiply that by your 80% factor or 85% factor or 70% factor, what all your marathon pace is. So that is 2 factors are already covered. So these are the 2 simple factors. The third simple factor is how much time you are likely to take a full marathon, complete a full marathon. That is the third factor. Then the fourth factor, what is your body weight? So these are the 4 factors. Multiply everything, you will get the volume in ml of oxygen, which is milliliters of oxygen. Once you divide this by 1000, because 1000 ml makes 1 liter, once you divide this by 1000, you will get in terms of liters of oxygen. That is what you are going to consume during the run, right? So when you are going to consume so many liters, you need to multiply that by 5. I mean, why 5? I am not that expert, but you need to multiply that by 5. So you will be getting in terms of kilocalories, right? So that is the kilocalories which is put as a demand on you. And there is a factor called supply. What you can supply. The supply is restricted 450 grams for amateur runners like you and me, and 650 grams for elite runners who are only 1000 in the world. There are only 1000 runners in the world. Okay. And there is a blood sugar, there is a blood glucose also, right? So that you can assume as 50 grams. So 450 plus 50, approximately 500 grams you can deliver. Now, whether you can deliver 500 grams, it all depends on your pre-race nutrition, race time nutrition, and not race time nutrition, pre-race nutrition, 14th nutrition, and how do you take carbohydrate for last 4 days of the race. It all depends on that. Yeah, so you need to be fulfilling your glycogen pockets. So how to fulfill the glycogen pocket, that I have already told. So you should go for a fat loading and then carb loading. Also, you should rest very well, so that you should also taper down your food. When you are tapering down, you should not go for 100% taper, 70% run come ho gaya, I am also reducing your calorie intake by 70%. No, we have already defined that what is used for running, that only should be reduced that much. So all those points we have mentioned. Yeah.
Correct. So we have another question, sir. The Mumbai weather is always very erratic. Mostly on the marathon day, it's always been far from good. So if there is a sudden change in the weather now, should one adapt to that? How should one adapt to that?
Yeah, that is a very critical point. In fact, I saw the weather report as of yesterday for the date of 15th morning. It was showing wonderful. I think 17 degrees, somewhere around the 5:15 when the race is going to start. Satra 17, 17. That is going to be the temperature which is going to be at the starting point of the time. But all these are not when the runners are available, right? When the runners are available in mass, we are breathing, we are leaving out, and a lot of heat is also getting generated. So it can surely go wrong. So what one should do is that you should keep your body cool. And how to keep your body cool? By slightly increasing your hydration level. Assume for a moment that you are okay till 10th kilometer or 12th kilometer. Go with your normal hydration level. After 12th or 14th, now you are feeling that you are feeling lot of heat and all. Then probably, because what I'm assuming that you are not, you already practiced it. So when you feel that on the 12th kilometer of that day, 2 weeks before, was far comfortable than 12th kilometer of this day, then probably you should add, let's say, 10 ml more than what is normally you are practiced with. That should surely help you. And all said and done, you should also increase your little salt content. But it's not, you may not be going as precise as possible. But only thing is a slight delta, slight change should give you a good. But having all said and done, if you are feeling somewhere uncomfortable, it is always better to reduce your pace by 5 seconds and maximize your optimization. What only you can optimize is your slight reduction in the pace. For example, even if you reduce the pace by 5 seconds, instead of 6 pace, if you are going at 6.5 pace, then it is going to do world of good. So that is what I would recommend. Yeah.
All right. We also have another question coming up which says that I have never tried gel before. Can I start with it now, or is water enough? And this would be mostly for a half marathon distance that the person is looking for.
So this is a very precise question you asked. The answer to your precise question is no. Please don't start now. But for a half marathoner, I'm only taking the example of 75 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes. If a half marathoner is finishing a run, he's a super fast athlete, right? She or he. So for them, gel is not needed, energy drink is not needed, nothing is needed. If a person is finishing it in 75 minutes half marathon, nothing is needed. Go with normal pure water, or even that is also not needed. But now, if you are a half marathoner who is about to finish between 90 minutes to 120 minutes, then very much is needed. Though you would not like to waste your time, though you may be in a position to manage without anything, still I would recommend, if you are between 90 minutes and 120 minutes of a half marathoner, you should go with either 2 gels or equivalent energy drink, whichever is suitable to your body, which I keep telling about gastrointestinal issues, right? So the body has to digest whatever you are taking. So that you should practice during your simulation runs. Now I keep telling about simulation runs. What is that simulation run all about? On some of the long runs, you should pick up 3 runs or at least 2 runs in which you would be simulating everything as per the race condition. You would be getting up as per the race timing. You would step out, you would start having gel, you would start your run, you would go as though you are running a race. Like that you will do. And all those practices you would inculcate during this run. And you should note down what is happening in your mind, or you should take a brain dump that what has gone wrong, what has gone right, and make adjustments in your second simulation, make adjustment during your third simulation. That's it, freeze it, make a document, you run with it. The document can be in the mind also. I hope I answered your question, but if not, then probably we can take it offline.
All right. Maybe a last question for this particular session. I know, sir, that you've spoken about hitting the wall, but somebody on the chat is checking how do we recover from hitting the wall?
How do we recover from the hitting? Once the wall has been hit, how do we recover is that Krebs cycle I told about, right? There is a word called KREB, Krebs cycle. That is what we follow normally. That is an energy supplying process, right? So what you should do is once the wall is hit, then probably you should slow down completely. You might have already got knocked off, right? Which means that you should sit for some time, take the support of the people around, and then you start slowly walking. And once 5 minutes of walking happen, then again go for a slow jog. Once 5 minutes of jog happen, then pick up oranges, eat something. You may be damn tired, but still start taking something or other. Then you run the race. One point I have forgotten to mention about over here is that this is a very, very critical point, which is do not do. One of my posts which I have written when I was a 1-year runner, that is still floating around in the media. One point I have mentioned it completely wrong, which I have realized it now, is that do not sprint during the end of the race. You have planned your pace very well for the running a marathon or half marathon. Do not sprint. Do not go much faster during the last 300 meters or 500 meters. This is outstandingly wrong. This is outstandingly bad. Okay, so if you want to sprint, you should have shown your during your time trial days. You should have shown during your training days. You should have shown during your speed interval days. If you are not shown that particular time, if the coach has not defined increased pace plan, it is better to adhere. Do not sprint and finish. Nothing is going to happen. You are hardly going to lose 2 seconds or 3 seconds, but do not risk life for that. And after finishing your run, do not immediately drop down your head as though the normal, we always see in the posters that the athletes are dropping down their shoulders and their head and then gasping for breath. All those things, please don't do, which is going to be very, very painful, which is going, sudden rush of blood is going to happen. Please don't do. You slow down your run, you go for a jog after finishing your run, you tell the organizers as feedback that I want to have some distance for running my cool down run, and then only you take the medal. So all sort of feedback you give, because it is your matter of your life. So you should slow down considerably, then go for a walk, then go for a very, very slow walk, then you stand, then you start chatting with the people. After 15-20 minutes, you start sitting down on the floor. Please do not do, because your calf muscle is known as the second heart, right? So first heart we know where it is. The second heart is our calf muscle. It is what is pumping back the blood. So if you are going to stop and then sit down, the calf muscle, it cannot pump the blood back, which means that you are, the blood pooling will happen, which means that if there is a deficiency for the heart muscles, we don't want that scenario to happen. So it is better that you go very slowly after you finish your run as per your pace plan, then go for a jog, then go for a walk, then slow down and then stop, chat with your friends and then sit. Yeah, so this is the point I want to tell you. And Sharon, can you take 1 more minute of
Sure, sure, sir,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so there are two things we can expect during a race, right? The two personal best. One is the personal best in terms of timing, and the second best is that in terms of enjoyment. The route will unfold. A lot of children, lot of people like you and me who will be clapping with the flag, national flag, as though we are participating sort of Olympic sort of electrifying ambience will be prevailing. Please enjoy that. Please clap. Please applaud. Please smile. When you do this, what will happen? You will have a nice experience to carry. At least one personal best I want from all of you. If I'm getting two from all of you, I'll be very, very happy. If not, at least give me at least one personal best. That is the message from my side. Thanks, Sharon, for this opportunity. Thanks, Manohar sir. Thanks, Ram Venkatraman sir. Thanks all the admins of MRR for giving me. Thanks, those people who have attended this session. Thanks so much from my bottom of my heart. I had a hearty talk to you people. Do go and do very well.
Thank you so much, Natarajan sir, for being here today, and MRR for organizing such innovative and informative sessions every time. For those who would like to subscribe, please click on the subscribe button. Also, there are 3 hydration stations which will be provided by MRR on the day of the race. The names are: one would be at Flora Fountain, the other one would be at the Churchgate Stadium Restaurant, and the other one would be at Pedder Road. Yeah. Wishing you all the very best. Hope to see you all soon. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Natarajan sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Yeah.